right, good afternoon. Today we are going to be looking at how we can use color, particularly warm colors and cool colors, to create emphasis or something that we want to look at most in our work of art. And so, what we're going to do today is we're going to create a landscape. And so, your landscape does not have to be exactly like mine, but I'd like for you to have some of the same elements in your landscape that I'm putting in my landscape. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm using chrome canvas. I'm going to make a couple of layers. You know how I love to make layers on chrome canvas. Let me get my pen going here. And what we'll do today is we're going to take a look at how we can use warm colors and cool colors to create the idea of emphasis. So I'm going to start with my pen here, and I'm going to turn it up pretty good size. I've got a little horizon line. I'm going to put some mountains in the back of mine. And again, what you do with your landscape might be very different. I'm going to put a couple of trees. And I want you to make your trees using maybe geometric shapes. We saw some really cool trees made with triangles and squares and rectangles. And so I'm doing the same sort of thing. I'm breaking this up with these little geometric sort of looking shapes, little squares and rectangles and triangles sort of overlapping each other. And that's sort of one tree. And then maybe I'll have another tree over here. And again, I'm going to keep using those geometric shapes to kind of give the impression of these leaves. And what we're going to do today is when we are making our landscape, we're going to make little areas. And just like I'm making little areas inside these trees using different type of geometric rectangles and other geometric shapes, I'm going to fill each of those little areas with different values or intensities of color. If you remember, we talked about value, how light or dark a color is, and how you can get a range of values with colors by adding white to the color to get those tints of a color, those light shades, those light values. Or you might add black to a color to get those shades, those darker values. So now I've got the things there, those trees, I've got the mountains, those are things there on my horizon line. Below my horizon line, maybe I'm going to have like a little pond here. There's going to be a little pond. And I'm going to put a little duck on my pond. So I've got a duck on a pond, and I've got grass here in front of it, in front of me on my landscape here, and then I've got some mountains, and then I've got some trees, and I've got sky in the background. And in my sky, I'm going to make some organic shaped clouds. Remember, organic shapes are those shapes we might find in nature. And I'm still going to break this cloud up into these little areas, little different shapes, but these are organic shapes in my clouds. I'm going to put a cloud over here too. Now, wherever you put your clouds is fine. Wherever you put your mountains is fine. Maybe your mountains are bigger than my mountains, and that'd be cool too. All right, so I've got some organic shaped clouds here and some geometric shaped trees and mountains. So now I want to start thinking about how I can add color. And you know how I like to do. I'm going to go to the layer below, and I'm going to start off with my warm colors. And I want to go to my custom color selector, because my custom color selector is going to let me choose all of those tints and shades, those different values of a color. So I want to start with my background. And I want my background to have a really pretty warm sky, like maybe the sun is setting. So I'm going to choose this orange here. And I'm going to do my background in this really bright orange. I'm going to choose my pastel. So I can make that really quickly. And now I'm putting in my orange in my sky. So my sky in the back is going to be an orange, like maybe there's a beautiful sun setting. And I'm going to draw some of that in just a moment. So I got my orange going in here. Now this is orange. Is orange a warm color or a cool color? Well, yes, that's correct. It's a warm color. Warm colors like yellows, reds, and oranges often make us feel warm or make us think about things that are warm. And where this is my sky and maybe I've got a sun setting, well, maybe, just maybe, it's making that sky feel really warm, and I want it to look really warm. All right, so I've just about got my orange in my background. And now I've got my orange in my background, I want to think about my clouds. What color could I do my clouds? I'm going to add a little yellow here. Just at the very little kind of down here at the bottom to kind of show where that sun is setting. Maybe that sun is setting right here on the horizon. That's what's making that sky so orange. Now I want to think about my clouds. My clouds, I want to keep them warm too. But I want to do them in lots of different values of this oranges. So I've got this neat red orange, and I'm going to put it in a couple places. Maybe there. I'm going to put it on over here. And what if we look at maybe even a darker red? And see, look, I got a shade of red where they've added a lot of black to that red to make it sort of a dark red. And see, now my clouds are beginning to take on these different warm colors like the dark orange and the dark red. Let's try to pick another value. Let's go with this sort of medium orange. Maybe if we go with a lighter orange. I'm going to go with a light orange here. This is a tint of that orange. We've added a little white to it, so it's like a tint of that orange. I'm going to add it to a couple places over here as well. What if we go with a bright yellow? Wouldn't that be neat in the clouds? Let's go with the yellow here. I'm going to choose this yellow. Maybe I'll put it here. Ooh, I'm going to repeat that yellow here. I like that a lot. Last but not least, I'm going to choose one more sort of bright value. Something along these lines. Here we go. Still staying with my oranges and my reds, my warm colors. So now I've got my background sky and I've got my clouds, and they're all in these beautiful warm colors. So now I want to start thinking about my grass and my trees and my mountains. And I want to go with my grass first. And I'm going to do a really light pale green. This is a tint of green. It's got green, but it's got a lot of white added to it. So I'm going to make it, this is the color of my bright grass. Look how bright that grass is. Ooh, it's almost neon, almost hurts your eyes. So I've got my my size turned up on my tool so I can cover a lot of area very quickly. Like I'm using a big wide crayon. Maybe you're using a crayon, you can turn your crayon on the side. I want to think about my mountains, and I want my mountains to be a darker value green. So I'm choosing this shade of green. Remember, they've taken green and added a little black to it to get the shade. But I don't want all of my mountains to be the exact same shade and color. So I'm going to do them all a little bit different. Sort of these, still staying with these cool blues and greens colors. And maybe something like that for this third mountain. Ooh, I love those mountains. And where they're greens and those really darker greens, you can kind of see them kind of off in the distance there, but they're all a little different. I'm going to start using some of this green. Ooh, I'm going to turn my size down a little bit. As I fill in my trees, because I want my trees to have some green leaves in them. So I'm going to use that green and repeat it in a few areas. I'm going to come over here to my color selector and choose another dark green. Look at that, a green value, a shade of green. And I'm just coloring in a few of these with that value of green. What if I put a little blue in there? How would that make the trees look? Let's take a look. Ooh, I like that. But I'm keeping everything very cool on my trees and in my grass. Everything on the ground is going to stay real cool. And then everything in that background, well, it gets a little warmer. So I'm repeating my nice, cool blues, the colors I've chosen that I like. And I'm going to choose one more here. I'm going to go with this tint of blue where they've taken that blue and they've added white. Remember, white makes a tint of a color when we add it. And last but not least, I'm going to do my little tree trunks here. All right, now I've got my tree trunks and my trees are all in this really pretty. Now what about this pond? I'm going to do this pond in this real pale blue. I love that blue. And I've got my duck here. So right now I've used cool colors, blues and greens, maybe a little purples we see in those trees. Those are my cool colors. I've used those on everything that's on the ground. The grass, the trees, the mountains. And the background is all really warm colors, hot colors, those yellows, oranges, and reds in the sky and in the in the clouds. But the last thing I want to do is I'm going to look at my duck. And the duck, I kind of want to make it the focal point, the thing I want to look at most. And by making it bright yellow, down here, bright yellow, really warm color, right in the middle of all of that very cool, kind of bluish green grass and such. I'm gonna even make this a little grass here. I love it. And that really makes that yellow, that very warm yellow pop. Look at it pop off that blue of that pond. All right. This is what my painting looks like of warm and cool landscape. I can't wait to see what your warm and cool landscape looks like.